Good evening, Michael.
Hello, Shawn.
Welcome back. How was
Good to be back.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry?
Keeping me busy, learning all
Excellent.
about sockets and streams and all that
Oh,
good stuff.
okay, nice. We see we have lots of calls out for and I missed changing the number. It's actually 132 in the corner there, so I think I changed it on everyone but this one. A lot of call outs for Michael. Welcome back, Michael. I will say welcome back officially. Thanks for joining me tonight. Just Michael and I, so be a quiet show. We'll have a little round table at the end. No Ryans allowed. Is what I have been told. Chat, let me know if you agree with that statement. If not, maybe we'll allow them. But I think the rule will be no Ryans. So we got a lot to catch up on, Michael. We're going to do some recapping of things that you have not been here to cover off, and then of course we're going to get into all the new things, and then talk a lot about Fluttercrafts tonight. So hence the title of the show. So it's not a specific call for a Kashyyyk Battle Force, but I was just giving that plug because it seems that Michael and a few others perhaps this round have certainly formed quite a Kashyyyk contingent in their lists, at least in the
We
league,
have
I
all
would
the
say.
pieces,
You do have all the pieces. That's
even
what
the
I'm saying.
command cards. You
Right.
just got to put them on a PDF and we're good to go.
Exactly. Maybe change a little Force org. Maybe people want to run 4
Yep.
Fluttercrafts. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Or
I just
Fluttercrafts or 5 or 6 support or
4
special
support.
forces.
Yeah, would be
Yeah,
also
for
cool.
support.
I've assembled some Fluttercrafts this week, so I'm a little bit. I'm falling into the camp that Fluttercrafts are cool, at least from the model
Yeah.
standpoint. So that is that'll be the main topic for tonight that we'll be talking about. Of course, we got a few other things. We'll talk a little bit about the league, updates on that, round 4 games, what we've seen, what we played, what we have upcoming, how people are doing, the standings, all that good stuff. Maybe we'll hear about Michael just giving us his impressions on what the league experience has been like. So because Michael's not been an Invader League player, but has certainly been an active member in the league. So maybe talking a little bit about that, either what kept him out or what's attracted him and how his experience has been so far. So we'll look forward to talking about that. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about Friday Night Fights, the fight that was last week and the fight that will be this week, and all the goodness that's upcoming, and maybe talk a little bit about what people might want to see in terms of lists and what we can get on the screen for you guys for your viewing pleasure. So before we jump over to the next screen, let's give some shout outs here because we've been a little lackadaisical on those in the last little bit. So why don't you do that, Michael, since you got the YouTubes open?
Okay. Oh, we got Tom, Striker, Chronic Canuck, Canadian Bear, Paladin, Sass, Ain't No Poser. I think I got Tom, Striker. Let's see, what else we got here? Andrew is with us tonight. Drizzle Dizzle is there. Anthony Allen, Justin Reynolds. I think I got most of the chat. Stan jumping in there as I'm wrapping up. So
Yep.
thank you everybody for hanging out. Good to see everybody again that I haven't seen in a while.
Perfect. And it's Justice, by the way, Michael. I say Justin every single
Oh,
time.
sorry.
And so I always apologize, but I'm glad Michael fell into the same trap. I don't know why. I mean, it's clearly an S and not an N, but I say Justin every time. But sorry about that, Justice. It's wasn't
Yeah, good catch.
in our intent there. Okay, so
My brain saw half the letters and filled in the rest.
fair enough. Yeah, well, I like when we do that. So what Michael and I are going to do, we'll obviously let's catch up on Legion. Maybe we'll just say the last time since you were on in Legion for you, Michael. We'll go back a little ways, and as he tells me pre-show, his memory's 30 seconds long. We'll talk about all the things that Michael's been doing in the world of Legion, what I've been doing this week, and then what we have upcoming. As I said, we'll talk about the league and round 4 specifically, but some general overviews of the league. We'll talk a little bit about Battle Forces because we haven't chatted to Michael about that, and then get into some conversation around Kashyyyk and whether it would deserve to be a Battle Force, and then specifically in on Fluttercrafts and all things. And then we'll talk a little bit about Mini Extravaganza, probably Mini Extravaganza first, and then the roundtable topics tonight. Let me jump down there really fast to get you guys prefaced. We are going to talk about what we need more in Legion, and that's pretty wide open. Early performance, and you can speak about many things in terms of new units or maybe things that you've tried for the first time and that's new to you. We're going to talk about the new models, could be old models that are new to you, new models, and what your impression of those are, and then your excitement level, and that can be applicable to all things. So as you can see, these are generic. They apply to everyone. We encourage you guys to use the call-in feature and call in and chat to us about some Legion. So that's what we got going on tonight. So let's jump over here. Michael, you want to go first? Yeah, sure you do. What have you been doing in Legion since we last spoke 100 years ago? But in Wizard years,
Yeah.
it's like that's only like a month or so.
Yeah, I arrive precisely when I mean to. So, I haven't played any live games. Haven't done a whole lot of anything new. I'm still painting some of my droids. I've worked a little bit on some of my Republic. Kind of figured out a paint scheme. I think I shared a couple of those in Discord, but I don't think we showed them here yet. So I did Rex and the tank, and I spent a lot of time on the LAT. I wanted to put LEDs in it for the first time, and I got it all done, and I broke one of the wires after I had everything glued up inside, and so I got really mad. So it's sitting 90% done, and the LEDs don't work anymore, and I'm just too mad at it to actually finish it. So that's what I've been doing, hobbying, but I'll get back to that at some point and get it finished off.
Right.
Did start playing in round 2 of the league. I don't typically play TTS. I don't like TTS. Personal preference. Great tool for playing remote for people that can only play that way or want to get more games in. Just, I don't like I think it promotes fiddliness, and the fiddliness on it isn't handled very well, is my opinion, personal opinion. But I did join the league in round 2, and I decided if I was going to play and I was going to deal with that, I was going to play something obscure and off the wall that I could just have fun with, win or lose or draw. And that's when I started playing Flutters, because everybody said they were terrible, at least everybody that I'd heard. And I know we'll talk later about how that went. So
yeah,
I'm having a blast with them, I'll say that.
A lot about that. So, and then your general league experience, even fiddliness aside.
Yeah. So okay? people I've played with have been very patient with me, because, like I said, I don't do it. And the more you do it, the more used to it you get. So I've been a little slow, but nobody's complained. Everybody's been patient. Good sports. No matter what happens, they've been good. And I know as I play Flutters, they can be fun for me, not so much for my opponents sometimes, just because of the nature of the way they play. But everybody's been great games, great people to play with. I've enjoyed that. So I came back for rounds 3 and now for round 4.
Nice.
First game in that tomorrow night. So.
Oh, most excellent. So Michael has not played any round 4 games, but
Yep.
you're we'll do the standings. But I think you've been doing all right.
4-1 in the 2 rounds I've played, so
okay.
I'm happy. And like I said, it was with Fluttercrafts was the basis of my list that everybody told me was no good and told me I configured them wrong because they're even worse that way. So I don't know.
We'll talk all about the configurations tonight, and you can tell Michael how wrong he is. But also, please hashtag show your work and back that up with your own games of Fluttercrafts.
Yep.
So we'll talk about all that. So my week in Legion's been let's see here. I played a league game. I played against Stan a couple nights ago. Stan and I feel like Stan and I played Saturday night. I should talk a little bit about that game because it was super fun, and Stan had me really reeling in the turn 0 world because I was stuck in playing battle lines and payload, and there were so few options for payload, all of which put me at least one full move behind Stan because I also had limited options, and or playing, I think it was Disarray was going to be the other option, and I wasn't going to be playing that on payload. So we opted to play, or I opted, I guess, to play my battle deck and my cards, and so that's what we landed on. And the game was very interesting. We played on the Mumbai map, and I used the trenches to my advantage, which really helped me. I was able to shoot Tons. The tank against Tons is still very, very good. And I was able to make some great shots. I think my tank missed, and I'm not kidding, and Stan can verify, hashtag show your work. I think my tank rolled 1 miss on 1 red dice in the entire game. And I fired shells 3 times and barraged 4, barraged 3, so 3 and 3, and it was lights out good. So obviously that was a pretty significant offensive juggernaut for me. Really helped me do that. The weight of the B1s helped me in the end. It was Stan's first game at Payload, and like I've played Payload well over 30 or 40 times at minimum, and so obviously I had this sort of the advantage. But super fun game. I was able to push to the end. I was able to stop. Confirmed, very painful. Stan in chat. I was able to stop Stan's cart, but like I said, he played it quite well for his first. I mean, he played well for his first go at Payload, and I think he's got a good list for it. But the AAT versus Tons is just a little bit tough. Anthony, right after, also has felt the pain of the AAT. Anthony, I played not last night, but the night before, just in a little practice game. Anthony also played me very tough in a very tough game of Breakthrough. I was, B1s were the hero, because B1s just stood in the face of a dewback dinosaur and just said, "No, sir, you cannot eat me all." And two of my B1s, one in the end, but held up the dewback enough that I was able to shoot one off, get the tie, and then win on points. But Anthony and I played on the indoor map. Very interesting. It's got a very big piece of terrain that I think was both a hindrance and help to me, and I think similar for Anthony in terms of how he was able to get around, but then potentially got cut off from his own forces. Yeah, it was interesting. I was able to get really lucky and get Bosk off before Bosk did anything in the game. So that was nice, because I mitigated his cards and took an activation off. So, but I definitely was on the back foot almost the entire game against Anthony. So, two players in the league, they're in the rounds, and I think I've seen an evolution in both their plays in terms of getting stronger and better. So, so look out if you got those guys in your groups in the upcoming rounds. So, fair enough. You got Anthony right now.
I'm in your rounds, or in your group, so. You said those were this round, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. So Stan is in ours. No, Anthony, I was just a practice game. So Stan will be playing for sure.
Yep.
Against you. So Stan and Michael. So listen for some tech there later on, guys. If you run into Michael with Fluttercrafts in future rounds, so doesn't have flutters in my round, so he's dodging me with the flutters here. So instead he's just got the crutch of like Luke Sabine, I think. So
I don't play force users though, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's fair. That's fair. So I'm a little rusty on my tank play. So
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I only have one, so it's kind of a crutch. But. So that was my games. I've had lots of fun. I've been watching games. I watched a game yesterday. I watch pretty much a game every day that I can. I've thoroughly enjoyed jumping in those chats. So thanks to the people that have been doing those live streams. They're fun. If you guys haven't been jumping in, just jump in. We just chat and talk all kinds of things. So I've been really high on the Demoralize Swoop Bike AA5 tech. So listen for that. I'm generally rambling about that every day as well. So I'll try not to get into too much today, because I think it's a good future show content. And then in terms of the last bit of Legion, I've been doing a lot of assembly. I think I'm about maybe 20, 25, 26 bucks. I think I calculated, Michael, for. And then whatever I buy tomorrow for Shadow Collective, because I am going to make the trek to get the Shadow Collective. So I'll probably be 30 plus boxes by tomorrow, but the pile's getting smaller. It's not getting too much bigger. So I am almost done the GAR, and then it's just CIS and Shadow Collective after that. So yeah, I just need to buy more cases now.
Yeah.
And paint.
Yeah, exactly. One correction, Pally called me out. He hasn't since the beginning been touting bombers, so I said nobody. Pally stands alone on that hill.
Yeah, fair enough. So still, it's just Pally's from the streets, so he counts as half. And yes, Striker saying, put your orders in for swoops tomorrow, and just in because I get texts all show long. In case you aren't sure, swoop bikes are due out this week, according to Bryant. So, yeah. So, and for those saying, I can't wait for those swoop bikes. Demoralized train going to be very, very strong. So, who knows? Maybe somebody will use that as a segue in the roundtable discussion. So, all right, let's get into a few other things. That's recapping our week in Legion. The social medias, Michael. How do people find us if they're looking for us?
Yeah, so on Facebook, we are Star Wars Legion Friday Night Fights, Patreon at TheTerrainStudio, Twitter and Instagram at Legion_FNF.
You bet.
Check us out there, see what's going on.
Yeah, don't forget, folks. Send us your pics of like if you're rocking any Friday Night Fights swag at your tournaments and etc. I'll shout out Travis's. Was at a tournament this week or a game? I'm not sure if they call it a tournament. I think they were playing the Dianoga scenario. Travis's son was playing there. Sent us a photo of him repping the Friday Night Fights card sleeves. Said he was feeling awful pro, and that's really cool to see. So I do appreciate that. And then if you got jerseys, I saw Ben was at an event and I caught some Friday Night Fights jerseys. That's the whole point why we did them. Why I wanted to see them out in the wild, so we do appreciate those photos. Speaking of out in the wilds, the 16th to the 21st, so I got an update today on the card sleeves. They're in Canada, shipping from Ontario right now, so the window I have is the 16th to the 21st. I backed it up 2 days. So if you are on the Patreon tier 3 and you were there in last month and this month, they'll be shipping as soon as I get them. They'll go out to you. If you join this month, then that means the July and August, and they'll ship to you as early August. So there's 16 spots left to grab those. They've been kind of stalled out at this amount, but I think when we get them in hand and we start showing them, they might disappear. If you don't want to miss that opportunity because you might not see them in person, when those slots are gone, they're gone. I kept a couple ones for giveaways, but after that, that run's finished, and we'll have to wait for the next design. So very limited in terms of these, just to create some hype around that. So I do want to thank a couple sponsors here, Deep Cut Studios, and for their gaming mats. You saw the blue gaming mat featured this week, so go check them out at deepcutstudios.com for some gaming mats. And of course, Legion Terrain. We also featured the Deep Cut houses this week, and we also featured the Legion Terrain downed ships. We used the CIS ships just sort of crashed in the water. So we'll get to the Friday Night Fight highlights, and you guys can see that. Quick shout for Patreon here. If you guys have been following the project, I have been progressing along on the wall. That's what the door is looking like right now. I also finished up the bullet holes, so I will be doing the paint tutorial on that in terms of how I airbrush the bullet holes. But I am quite pleased, Michael, with the progress and both the look of that. So I can't wait to sort of feature that in the background of all the upcoming videos. So I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah,
I feel like I want to turn my desk around and start using that as the backdrop. So there is that. All right, let's jump over and do real quick. Did I forget to drop them in there? Maybe I did. I was going to bring the Friday Night Fights highlights in. Let me just grab that real quick. I'll just throw it right on this screen here, since I did have a screen. Boom, there's a Friday Night Fights highlights. Let me just drop that to not the best of screens. Let me see here. Boop, let me go there. Hello, full screen. Boop, there we go. So, Michael, I know you didn't watch it, so spoilers, but this week Anthony and Jace faced off. I want to give a special shout-out to Frank Pally and Anthony, OS Dad, our East Coast affiliate, who all came out to cast alongside of me. So we had 4 casters this week. Jace faced Anthony, and we previewed for the first time our Shadow Collective, or made their debut at least on our stream. So it was a good game. It was Trip Staps and an AAT and a plethora of B1s with heavies facing Anthony's Pike Wall. It was 6 pikes with the Disruptor, and then he had a couple capos, Maul, and Bosk. And so, like I said, we played on this blue map with sort of this island look. I won't tell you about how the game went. You guys can go check that out. It's only about a 2-hour stream, because I think they only went with the preamble and such. I think they got into turn 4, maybe turn 3, ended turn 3. Won't tell you how it went, but it's interesting. So the Pike Wall with the Disruptors can be quite devastating, and the AAT obviously with 3 staps. So this was the Invasion Force variant here, so got a chance to see some of the new command cards played, and obviously the new Bosk as well. So if you guys want to check that out, go check that out. Episode 57, it's on the same channel that you found this. Go check it out. And once again, thanks to our guest casters there. So if you are interested in guest casting at all, just hit us up on the Discord. We'll get you guys in. We always appreciate having extra voices, extra insight on those games. All right, let me jump over to, real quickly, updates on round 4. So, Michael, we'll jump back to our faces here in a second, but in case people didn't see, that is the standings after round 3. So like I said, I got Anthony at OS Data. It's at 8 points. Like I said, very fairly new to Legion and performing well in the round. So climbing up there. So 8's about mid pack right now. So I just kind of have them separated, in point increments, but there's kind of a log jam in and around that 25 through sort of 15 area, and then you got another big one between like 8 and 14. So players got basically potential to get 10 points per round in most groups. Some groups have a bit more if they have 5 people in them, but we got a smattering of points from 28 to 1. Where are you finding yourself on here? Where are you at, Michael?
Third from the bottom on the left.
Oh yeah, there we go. 14 points.
points.
So Michael doing quite well with his Fluttercrafts there. Got some notable names on there. We got Brian. We got Anthony. Our Anthony. Jace is on there. Jace is out for a round, so he'll probably fall down a little bit. Let me see who's in there from chat. We got Canadian Bear in there. Pally's in there. Stan's in there. Oh, hey, Patrick, welcome. Good morning. Who else I see? Anthony, as mentioned. Striker I've seen in chat tonight. Ryan's on there. 3 points, Ryan. Let's go. What's happening? Bernard's on there. Tactical Genius is in there. We got a host of players. This is players from round 1 to 4. So some people have been in all the rounds. Some people have jumped back in and out. But yeah, that's where we sit right now. And then Michael, what group are you in right now? What's your group called? Oh, you're in my group. Never mind. Hey, this is Michael. Yep. This is Michael and I's group. I forgot we were in the same one. So, so Michael, Stan, Bobster, TheTerrainStudio, and Debaticus is in here. So I have played Stan. And who are you playing tomorrow night, Michael? Are you playing Debaticus?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think you're playing Debaticus. So, and I think we might be scheduled for Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I could be. I could be playing right after. So and then Michael and I at some point will need to throw down this round as well. And so Michael, this round here, obviously we got a few more points. Just we ended up in the round of 5. Yep. They randomize. Sometimes you're in a group of 5, sometimes you're not. So that is one group. This is I'm not sure how to say this. Cantonica. This is the other group of 5 here. It's got Anthony in here, Moon, Flood, Zombie. This group has played quite a few games, I feel like. I think Flood, Zombie, and Moon played last night. I feel like Anthony's played... I think he's played the Calico Kid and Moon already. So I think they've got at least a couple games. Geonosis, Blast and Ronan, Shawn Death, Eric, and Brian. I think they have a slow start going on in that group. Jakku here, I'm not sure if they've played any games. I can't say I've seen too many of those. Anthony might have played one already. Canadian Bear, Dan from Down Under. I think Dan's played a game already. Dan's always in watching with us on our on the lives. GM Smithers, Sketchy Mortars. I think these guys have not got going yet. Chronic Canuck, Cass, Striker, Pally, A Strange Event. I think they have played some games. Cantonica, okay. Fair enough. And then Muskrat Steve, Kokazula, Splash Cola. This group has lost a member, unfortunately, this round, but they will still play a couple games and get full points if they play all of those. So that is the rounds, or groups, I should say. So we have 8 groups running right now. Bands for this round, in case you didn't know, are Wookiee Warriors, Imperial Special Forces, Kashyyyk Defenders. I could have that wrong, actually. I think it's the Wookiee Warriors for here too, and then the Magna Guard. All the melee Wookiees were gone, and that's going to be something that Michael will talk a little bit about. So, so that's kind of where we're at, Michael. And you've now played, I think, the full gamut for the Friday Night Fights team. I think, you've played. Do you have Jace yet?
Yep.
Do you have Jace?
I had Jace and Anthony in the last round.
Okay, that's right.
So
yeah,
you stacked that one hard against all of us.
I stacked that one hard, yeah, and then that random number generator, and all I can say is just get good, Michael. You can
random. I did.
I know that's
Anthony beat me, but I took care of business otherwise. So
yeah, you took care of Pally. It took care of Jace. You got there's all kinds of things going on. So. And we're going to learn all about how that's happening. So, Strange Event saying Pally and I already played. Pally came out. Yep, that's fair. I did see that game. Thanks for the reminder there. So, okay, speaking of Pally, let's get into Pally from the streets. News from the streets, that is. Pally's lack on his correspondence, but I still give him street cred because, he does help us out. So, the random bully group generator. That's actually quite good. I like that one, Striker. I like it. file that away in the memory bank. So, so mini extravaganza, Michael. We don't have long to wait. The 14th, by my count, that is Thursday, I believe. So 14th, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is the schedule. You and I have not talked about this, but is there anything on there jumping out to you, catching your eye, something you look forward to, or do you feel like they kind of lost a little gusto when they just basically gave us all the reveals before the show?
I think they lost a lot of gusto when they did that. I'm sure there'll be a couple things that they'll throw in just to spice it up a little bit. Probably some things they won't, or that they hadn't planned on. Maybe we'll get a couple of little leaks, but I think a lot of what we can expect to see has already come out. I think we can expect some more Mandalorian stuff. Maybe they'll pop a little bit of that in. Maybe we'll see a little more Ewoks, and I don't think that's all bad. I think we've got a roadmap that they gave us. I think we know where it's going. So I'm not upset that we're not going to get a whole bunch of new stuff on top of what was new a few weeks ago.
I kind of feel like because everything's been revealed and they know that and they've had a little bit more prep time, I almost feel like we may end up getting a bit more than we would have otherwise gotten.
Yeah.
Because they're going to kind of feel, I'm just spitballing here, I think there's going to be a little bit of onus on like, okay, the schedule's out, people know what they look like, what else can we give? And so we may have a little bit of an accelerated reveal as a result of it being pushed back. That's what my optimistic glass half full sort of mentality's at. So I'm still looking forward to the content, one, because I can see it all as it comes out and I don't have to rely on reading everything off the internet. Pally is sharpening up his number 2 pencil as he's pointed out. And Dan's saying here that we still get the Full of Surprises panel coming out on Saturday. That we do, for sure. And so we may see some stuff there. But, I mean, who cares if we've seen the spoilers already? I mean, a few product shots is not a full reveal. And it's certainly there's certainly lots more to come out so that we can see what these units are going to offer us on the table. So
and I would expect we'll see a few cards in there. We'll probably might even see a couple of them in the gameplay. I know they do have a gameplay in here somewhere.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. I like we have a plethora of people shouting out some stuff here, and one of them says there's some damn cards. Patience. By the way, just a small aside, but I was just in first aid training for this past weekend, and literally repetitively said the training was actually quite fun, and I enjoyed it. The instructor was fantastic, but one thing he kept saying, which I immediately went to Star Wars every time, was just remember your training, remember your training, remember your training. Him, of course, referring to first aid type scenarios, not referencing Star Wars at all. But boy, did that ever stick with me, and I got a little chuckle and a smile under my mask each time I heard that. So remember your training is all I have to say about that. So, okay, Michael, let's get into the meat here. We're 30 minutes in, which is great. We'll probably rip through this for 30, 40 minutes, and then we'll leave some time for roundtable. But Battle Forces. So I know that we've briefly discussed this, and I said we were going to be brief last time. You and I have not talked Battle Forces. We won't get into all the nuances of this because maybe it'll come up in the end, but couple questions for you. What are you thinking about Battle Forces in terms of the game? How impactful is it? Is the 4 only the crack in the door for a larger world? And is that larger world worth exploring? A la, hence the title tonight. We need a Kashyyyk Defenders Battle Force. So what are you thinking?
So I've got a few thoughts, and I'll try to keep them relatively brief. So number one, let's talk about the boxes first. I love the boxes. I think as a new player, they're great. As a player that's been around for a while, that has bought most everything, a lot of it to the max of what you can put on a table, I kind of go, eh. But again, if it gets new players into the game, I think it's great. I think that's the intended audience. So love that. With the boxes, though, I don't like that there's basically 3 cards I want out of each of these boxes. I'm not going to pay $600 for those cards. I'm not a fan of print and play. Give me a card pack that I can buy the cards. Please, AMG, figure that out. I will buy cards and errated cards if you make them available. Let me buy them, please. Aside from that, if we look at Force Orgs, I think the Force Orgs is going to add a lot of spice to the game. I think some of them are more interesting than others. As a droid player, I laugh at most of the lists I've seen people making for the Separatist Invasion online, because most of them people put here's my separatist invasion, and somebody goes, oh, you can't include this unit in there, and they go, oh, and I look at all those lists and I go, they're perfectly legal now, and you weren't taking the command cards anyway out of separatist invasion for one reason or another, so play the list. It's a legal list. It's just not a separatist invasion list. I think Echo Base. People suddenly remember that Tauntauns are in the game because you can have 4 of them instead of 3. It seems like they got forgotten about. I think the 501st has a. I don't know if it's a good or competitive list or Force Org. I'm excited to see what people do with it, but it's a different Force Org, which is interesting, quite different. And I haven't looked a whole lot at the Empire ones, so. But I do like the direction. I like where they're going. I just have a couple of really minor complaints, but I think overall it'll be good for the game.
Right. Pally's demanding to know what's in the Wizards of the Coast box over your shoulder. A wizard can never reveal their secrets.
I can tell you what's in that box. That is an empty box. That was my starting at Wizards box. It had a starter set for D&D, a starter set for Magic, and I don't see what I had, a couple other swag things in it.
Yeah, because if you guys didn't know,
was in the box.
Friday Night Fights whole shindig here, we got upped street cred because we got a legit wizard who works legit for Wizards. So that's where we're at. So I'm just a lonely guy in a basement who pretends he has a podcast. That's my street cred, but Michael's got legit street cred. Andrew pointing out correctly that we have so many people here because Michael's returning. Agreed. This is why we need Michael so that we can actually have viewers. It's super important.
But the problem is, if I show up every time, then you never get the return of the wizard effect.
I mean, it's true. So
you got to find that balance just right.
We do have to find that balance, and I mean, Jace is actually doing some errands tonight, and Anthony had a chaotic day, so that's why nobody else is here. I had to walk down 13 steps to get here, so that's why I'm here. So.
I think Fisher's comment. He says, "I wish the CIS one had any flavor to it at all." I kind of feel the same way. I really want to like that box, but I think it's the most boring of the 4.
I know.
Again, if you haven't started collecting CIS, I think it's a great way to start. But I'm not excited at all by the Invasion Force. I'm just not.
Okay, I love the fact that people are still hot on Battleforces, so I hope we bring lots of that discussion to the end as well. So I agree, Michael. I love CIS. It's definitely my favorite faction. I think the box is vanilla. There's a couple things that I just think that it needed. I think that it needed to get the caveat of you can take a field commander and not be forced to take the tactical droid if you are saying they have to take the AAT. I'm going to die on that hill. I just think taking a tac droid and leaving out the field commander options is not cool. That is, that's one thing. The AP ones, I love that. I think that is cool. The command cards are fine. I can give or take those. I do like the fact that you get to have more droids. I just don't like the fact that you get to take more droids, but then the 50-point tac droid just seems out of place in my opinion. If you want to take super tac droids, that's fine. Maybe take generic super tac droid if you wanted to give it a little bit more flavor. That's cool. Taking out Lock Turd, I'm not 100% sure. I guess he wasn't in the battle that they're thinking, but is it more generic invasion force, or was this specifically for the battle of something? I'm not sure if they've identified that or not, but I do like the droidicas are in there. I would have been okay if they said you had to take droidicas and could not take staps. Like, I would be even okay if they sort of pigeonholed you there and allowed you to take like 4 droidicas. That would be kind of cool. Would be really neat. You'd really definitely have a lot of bodies and a big health pool. That would be fine. I just think there's a couple things they could have done with that. I think that they didn't go far enough to make it specialized, and they maybe added a few things too restrictive, in my opinion, on that. So, but we can talk about Battle Forces. At the end of the day, I think we're in agreement that I think they're okay and good for the game, and I think it's a direction that we'll see more of. So, yeah, so that is, I think we're fine on that. So now, before we get in, we're going to start talking about Fluttercraft, and that will be the basis of the next bit here. But what is your opinion about next Battle Forces in terms of what might we see, what should we see, and is Battle Forces potentially a nice way of introducing new, let's call them factions, for lack of a better term. But do you think that will be the way that we see things introduced in this game? Let's just say down the road we get something in and around the Gungans. The Gungans is a
Yep.
Battle Force the way to bring them into as the starter, if you will, going forward.
I think absolutely. I think we'll see at some point, in no particular order, we will see. Well, I think Ewoks are going to be. I think we'll see Gungans. I think we'll see the Sisters of Dathomir. We'll see some things like that. I think it. I think it's a great way to bring things in. My one fear is that I still want factions in the game, and I still want them to have meaning. Meaning that I want to be able to play Gungans with some of the clones. I want to be able to play Ewoks with some rebels that aren't necessarily the battle force. I think there's, and that's part of what we're talking about tonight. There's creativity to be had there, even if they're not good. I realize it makes balance really hard when you can cherry pick from a whole bunch of different things.
Yep.
So it is a balance problem, and I mean, even if you make them a little worse, that you get your bonuses on the battle forces are enough that that's usually what you're going to play. I think that's okay, but I still want to be able to play a CIS list with the pieces of it that I want. I still want to be able to play a Rebel list with the pieces of Rebels that I want, regardless of it being in a particular movie scene. But on the whole, I'm very excited for the narrative elements of it, for the thematic elements of it, for introducing things that way where you can drop a bunch of stuff that's themed together.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
Um,
The other Battle Force, I know we joked about as the title, but we have all the pieces for Wookiees. Just give us the PDF with the list of what we can take.
yeah, no,
Um,
agreed, and that's where we're gonna go.
we've got the Chieftain and Chewbacca and Yoda and all those Wookiee warriors and the
Flutters.
Fluttercraft.
Yep.
Just put them on a PDF and the command cards. Got those too. So
Yes. I love everything that people are saying here in chat, and not because I want to disagree with you, Ryan, but I think that while that might have been an utterance at some point, I think that there might be some regret in stating that the fact that battle forces aren't made to be competitive, because I think stating that is almost like drawing a line in the sand where you're going to get people like Michael, for example, who will be like, oh, you said that's not competitive. Let me show you how it can be. And I think that probably, while maybe stated, and as to what the intent of that, I don't know. But I don't think that we're going to be able to live behind the line of like, oh, well, these aren't supposed to be competitive, therefore we shouldn't give them the critical eye, and we shouldn't analyze them, and we shouldn't make suggestions, or we shouldn't suggest that you can do well with this, or you go to an event and be like, well, I didn't do good because I brought a battle force. I don't live in that world, and I think I think that statement is incorrect, because I think there's going to be lots of people who will take these non-competitive force organizations and do quite well with them. And in fact, I wouldn't want to continue to explain, sort of express that narrative, because I don't think so. Is there going to be a hierarchy in terms of what ones are better than others? Potentially, yes, but I don't think I want to say that they're not competitive. Yeah, let's get into this. So. Michael's saying goodbye to all the people that are heading out. I see Dan's heading out there. Okay, Michael, what we're going to do is we're going to spotlight the Fluttercraft as you're running it. We're going to then transpose that onto the Fluttercraft that basically is the other option. Anthony's actually conveniently running that one as well, the other option. And then we're going to have a look at some pros, cons, and then jump into looking at how you're using other complementary units with it or aren't, and why maybe you suggest that this one's better than the other, or perhaps how people could use other units. And then we'll talk a little bit about the command card usage, and then we'll get into roundtable, so where you guys can dispute and refute all things said. So I'll let Michael take it away for a while here. So, all right, walk us through the unit, Michael. This is your build right here.
This is my build. So I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit, but we'll start with the unit itself. So the Fluttercraft has a whole bunch of immunes, which I like. The immune deflect, range 1, blast, which actually came into play with Yoda. I was really scared when I saw Yoda, and then I remembered I had immune blast, so his weapon didn't get rid of the cover. It has cover 2 on it, which is better than it looks like. Overrun 2. Love that one. We'll talk more about that. And once you get that, I'm running with the Bombardier, which has the suppressive on it, so that's great. It surges both offensive and defensive, which is good because it's rolling white dice. So it is a little fragile at only 6 and resilience of 3. So I think it's pretty in line with a lot of the other speeders when you look at those stats. The biggest difference is it's big, it sits up high, you're not hiding it. If you're out, you're going to get shot. And because of that, you don't, the way I'm playing it, you don't want to be holding it in the background because the range 4 or 5 guns are going to poke through it. You can't sit in the back and wait for your moment. So when I started building the list, I looked at, well, number one, it was kind of a challenge. Everybody says, except for Pally, everybody says this thing is bad. So what can I do with it? And realizing I wasn't going to play it away, I want to be up in your face with it. What's going to complement that? I also like the Wookiee theme, so I just filled up on Wookiees, and basically my whole list is going into your face. Here I come, stop it all. 3 Wookiee Special Forces, the Wookie Chieftain. Like I said, I'm coming at you. There's no secret. That's what it is. And basically, I can tell by round 2, by the middle of round 2, if I'm going to win or you're going to win generally, who's ahead, because either your stuff is dying or mine is. And that's pretty much the way all the games have gone. Um, so I rambled there for a little bit, but I think the way I like to play this out of the gate is because I know I'm in your face. I want those objectives, those deployments that say we're closer together. You can't hide from me. You can't stay at range. And I want to get up on you as quick as I can. I hold the Fluttercraft back as long as I can in round 1. So I'm usually playing Assault and giving the 3 orders to the Fluttercraft. And then I'll just take the bag with everything else and move it forward, try to hide and protect them as best I can. Because I don't want you to have 10, 12 activations of shooting at these things, because they are a little fragile. And then I'm going to charge them in. And their range is surprising because they do have the speeder. So they get the compulsory move and then 2 more moves. And they're on a huge base. So they are covering a lot of ground, even though they're only speed 2. When you do battle lines, I'll get to you anywhere on the board. If we're lined up across from each other, you're not going to hide from that. Anthony found that out in our game. He got 1 activation with Bosk before Bosk was dead. Even though he issued his order to Bosk at the top of the 2nd round, he was dead before he got to go. So doing that, a lot of suppression, because you get if your compulsory move lands on someone, they get a suppression from that. And because of that big base, you can often land on 2 or 3 units at a time, so you're spreading that suppression out. The Bombardier attack was suppressive. You can drop that twice in the round and drop out 2 more suppression. The reposition that they have, you can do a lot of neat things. 2 of my favorites that I do a lot are, you can run straight forward and reposition 90 degrees as 1 move and do the overrun attack there. And then at the start of the next turn, you can reposition again to start the round and come straight back to where you were. So you end up where you started from, except just facing the opposite direction, but you've run over the same target twice that way. You can also do a 90-degree angle and basically go up, pivot, so you get to go down and over and pivot, and you did a little square and end up exactly where you started from. So there's ways to move them around in kind of interesting scenarios like that. And I think the other thing is, because it is not a ranged attack and it's not a melee attack, when, for example, I had the Wookiees get into melee with Anakin, and Anakin player was feeling, okay, I got Wookiees locked up, I should be a little safe now. But you can fly over top of that melee, drop a bomb on Anakin, and then fly back and do it again. And all of a sudden you've put several rolls that he has to save from. No cover because it's not ranged. So that can go that way pretty quick. The other thing is their dice, the 2 red, 2 white. My mind, when I saw this, I'm going, okay, so I should get 2. And I actually pulled up the Tell Me the Odds tonight on that. 90% of the time, almost, you're getting 2 to 4 damage. And 2 and 3 or required saves, and 2 and 3 required saves are almost the same. So you're averaging 2.5 rolls they have to make to save. And if you can do that twice a turn, that's 5+ dice they have to roll. Even red saves, that starts to wear after a while. Make the red saves roll dice, and you get to do that with 3 of these every round as long as they're up. And so one of the other tactics I like is go to find the important targets, obviously, but also soft targets, because you can get so far. Snipers are often a lot easier to get to than your opponent thinks of. Take those out. That takes some of the plink damage that would come off of these, and start getting those activations even more in your favor. So
Um,
that was a whole lot of rambling. I hope there
No,
was something in
it's
there that was
okay.
helpful
Well,
to
we're
people.
going to do it again here for a comparison with the other one, but I want to just highlight a couple or restate a couple of those points. I think that last point, if I work my way backwards, that isolating of the snipers, Michael, at the back, even if you
Yep.
aren't able to kill them, oftentimes people leave their back cappers outside of command range.
Yeah.
It's just generally how it is, right? They either manipulate their pool or they're sort of timing neutral and they can pull them whenever they want. However, when you're outside of that courage bubble and you end up with, let's just say that you got an overrun attack, which will give you a suppression and maybe perhaps two, or maybe you're even displaced off the compulsory.
Yep.
Those snipers that end up in and around that panic state or could be panicked end up dropping off those back caps. I've seen you do that to a couple players where I think it was maybe against Jace's list where you ended up harassing his back cap at an intercept point to the point where he had nobody on the back cap.
Yeah.
You couldn't score either. Obviously, they're a non-scoring unit, but the whole point being that you were able to clear off a back cap and get a point that otherwise easily would have gone to your opponent by dedicating a two-man unit. We saw it in the game with Pally overrunning the arcs, as Pally's pointing out here. But just being harassing with the units themselves, and it doesn't have to have a high offensive output to still have a compounding effect. I am going to segue real quickly to the swoop bikes here, just based on what you had mentioned. Michael has said how fast they are with having 2 speed 2 moves with the huge base. Well, if you could just imagine a base that's similar in size, smaller obviously, than the swoop bike base. I think it's the next size down, but having 3 speed 3 moves, I think will be equally fast and have a similar effect with it. Obviously, its range. So don't underestimate the movement. I mean, it looks great. Speed 2 is speed 2, speed 2. But when the base size changes and when you add a compulsory move in there, you start moving around the table and it's taking up a significant amount of real estate. We'll get into the pros and cons a little bit here in a bit, because I think, and Michael can probably allude to,
So if I can touch on one more thing.
Go ahead.
What you mentioned going back for those snipers, one of the other things is because they're flying over everything, where a lot of people have gotten in the habit of hiding the second mini on the sniper unit. Because you're flying over them, you get visibility on everything, and they don't have that extra. You didn't see it, so you can only take one out. You get both of them, so they disappear fast that way too.
That's a fair point, yeah, because you're probably well within the cohesion range just simply with your base,
Yep.
and clipping them is and I guess based on the fact that people are maybe cohering a little bit wider, that probably ends up helping you a lot of times, Michael, with having the real estate to land, and that'll be when we get into the maneuverability conversation a little bit. If you can highlight on that, how to coordinate 3, which is in fact it's like synchronized swimming, and people don't often realize that when they first start playing vehicles. I've often seen new vehicle players block themselves in or create problems with not predicting end moves. I think I learned a lot from my X-Wing days in terms of predicting where ships would end up, similarly to vehicles, and just having that sort of visual spatial memory and knowing what the movement tools do and how far things go is probably something that you've probably seen yourself as a player. The evolution over a few games, you're probably a little bit more coordinated with these Fluttercrafts than maybe the initial rollout. So
Exactly.
Right, I still feel they
touching
aren't
on
that
one
great
thing.
for sure.
Yeah, I will
We
say these are not. I'm not saying these are the best unit in the game. I'm not saying they're the new meta. I'm saying they're much better than most people, aside from Pally, gave them credit for.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, let's contrast here. We got more to talk about here, and as I know, Ryan is dying to tell us how wrong you are, Michael, based on all the results that you have. So why don't you contrast here a little bit with the gunner variant? So what does this bring? What is it? Why is it different? What are your thoughts about this versus the build you're running?
yeah, so this one is a fixed rear gun that shoots 2 red, 2 black. Excuse me. So I think the key differences here are obviously you have range. You don't actually have to fly over your target or land on it with your compulsory. Reminder also, you can only land on units with your compulsory, and they can't be in a melee when you do that. But this has impact, Pierce 1, so it's going to help there. I think when I looked at this initially, and honestly, when Shawn and I were talking tonight, I took a new look at it through the lens of having played with the Fluttercraft in general for a while. I think I like this better than I did before. I didn't like the having to pivot to get the rear in, but as I've swung my Fluttercraft all over the table, basically whichever way I want to go, whenever I want to go, I'm a lot less worried about that now than I was. From a suppression standpoint, though, I don't like the one shot. You also have to deal with cover, so that is the thing. I know Anthony likes this one better. The other thing we should talk about is playstyle. The charge everything ahead, just fly things over. I found I love the playstyle. I seem to have a little bit of a knack for it. It agrees with what I want to do in a game. Where this would do a little less of that. I know that's not a style that everybody wants to play. So it, we don't talk about that enough. I think when we talk about what are good lists is what's a good list for you. Because if you take a list that you don't enjoy playing, that you don't understand the intricacies of necessarily, or you get bored with it before you can figure out the intricacies, it's not going to be as good for you as it is for somebody who knows the list inside and out. Striker, I agree. The fixed rear is harder to achieve, but I think with all the repositioning and you're only taking one shot, it's definitely not impossible to get there and take that shot. So, and is practice. The other thing we didn't talk about, I think these are like a lot of other repulsors. One dies. If you put one on the table, it's going to get shot. It's going to go down right away. If you put two, they're probably going to go down not too long. Three of them is kind of where, at least in the game, historically, repulsors have had their sweet spot. Take three or don't take them, because they're typically going to get shot off unless you've got something else that is so threatening they get completely ignored.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, just reading chat at the same time. I just
Yep,
want to jump back here, Michael, a little bit. Neither one of you or Anthony, in terms of your build here, are taking advantage of the comms slot. So can you speak a little bit about as to why you aren't, and maybe it's just a points thing, and then if you were and points weren't a consideration here, let's just say you had points available, what could you see being some of the valuable comms for you in terms of the play style that you're running with the Bombardiers here?
Yeah. So maybe I'll run through my list real quick if that's all right. I'll just kind of chuck out what I'm doing. I'll just read it off because that'll inform why I'm taking what I am.
We have the card. We have the card portion as well, so we might revisit your list a little bit there. So go ahead.
Okay. So real quick though, I've got the Wookie Chieftain with tenacity, 3 phase 1s with no upgrades, 2 Wookie Warriors with the shield into the fray and tenacity, 1 Shooty Wook with the bowcaster and targeting scopes, and the 3 Fluttercraft with just the Bombardiers, and that comes in at 798. So I realized I read that quick, but basically every unit in there's more upgrades I would like to have, but at 798, there's just not any more room to put anything in. It's full up. If I had room for a comm slot, I think comms jammer would definitely be what I would want, especially with the Bombardier, because my goal is to, like I said, get in your line, get on top of your units anyway. So being able to keep those orders from going out would just be an added benefit. I think 9.5 times out of 10, that's what I would do in this list if I had the points to do it. But I'm at the point in the list where I don't feel there's much, if anything, that I can really take out of the list without starting to gut units to be much less effective.
Yeah, fair. It's not like you have a lot of options there anyway, but I think if people were looking at that, that's probably some of the things. If you wanted to overinvest in them, maybe HQ uplinks if you feel like that control. I guess we'll get into the command cards and I'll ask specifically how you're able to control them past the turn 1. You open up with the assault as mentioned for that sort of delayed that delayed dive in, but then we'll ask a little bit about the extraction plan. So okay, well, let's jump in and talk a little bit about the pros and cons of these units, and then we'll get into the command cards and how you're specifically using units in your army. So I'll just lay these out and then we can pick on any of the point, but sort of as we surmised within our little think tank here, some of the pros around the Fluttercraft, which could potentially be cons if depending on how you flavor the conversation, but maneuverability for sure, for all the things that we mentioned, the compulsory move, the ability to reposition, the ability to kind of have that defined end and start point is quite nice. There's a reliability in the offense, as Michael has pointed out. Using the math is certainly something that makes the conversation a little more granular, but 2 to 3 saves, forcing 2 to 3 saves seems like a fairly reliable offensive output for me. You could have Pierce or Blast depending on which weapon you're running, depending what flavor. That Pierce is always great against red dice saves, but in fact Blast is good for all the things Michael mentioned, those hiding units, that the cover that's granted, and it certainly makes your offensive output a lot better having that Blast keyword. It's one of the best keywords in the game, to be honest. Generally it's a little bit limited based on the range and the ability to get the unit there, but in this case getting the unit there is not an issue. Therefore Blast, I think, becomes a compounding positive in terms of getting offensive output, and then it's also effective in many missions, and we'll talk about that, Michael, maybe as we get into the end of this conversation around what you're running, what you think it excels in, and maybe talk a little bit about some of the let's say challenges that you're having with if you're losing bid, etc. Some of the cons: it's a big target for sure. It does have some cover, but it is very difficult to hide. So as Michael pointed out, expect to get shot. You will, specifically if you're also throwing it in your opponent's face and your opponent starts to feel the weight of that. There's difficulty to gain additional cover. As mentioned, it's large, and so don't expect to get anything beyond what you have.
Well, it has cover too, so you're not getting additional cover no matter what. So.
Fair, that is fair. It does have cover too. You're just not going to get, I guess, cover from like line of sight blocking. It's going to get shot, and you're going to have the cover that you have. There's vulnerability to big dice pools, and more to the point that you're going to have nothing beyond that cover, which is fine. I guess if you put that into your calculus when you're playing and your approach, you'll be fine. Good night, Anthony. Have a good evening. And then requires coordination for movement. As I had mentioned, it's a little bit of synchronized swimming out there as you're moving these fluttercrafts around and not trying to take your great avenues of approach. As you try to run 3 fluttercrafts over a similar unit, or get them to the same locations. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, Michael, and maybe address some of the pros, maybe from experience, and verify some of those, and then maybe validate some of the ways you get around some of the cons.
Yeah, so one of the other pros that I'll add on there is the ability to isolate targets. And there is one mini in the game that I have in mind when I say the ability to isolate targets is R2-D2. So I apologize, last round I forgot the name of the opponent off the top of my head, so I apologize for that. But he was making a run with R2-D2 for a secret mission towards the end of the game, and it was kind of the only way he was going to be able to have a chance to win or force it to points. But because the Fluttercraft was doing overrun, and if you only fly over one unit, that's the only unit you can target with overrun, you can drop your bombs on R2-D2 even if he has suppression. So that's where I did that little square move, ran around a circle over R2 in one turn, attacked him twice, did I think 3 damage the first time and enough the second time that it took him off the board, even though a normal unit at any range making a range attack wouldn't have been able to shoot because they would have been able to shoot something else. So
very clever.
It's kind of a little thing hidden in there, but it's there as well.
I only have one thing to say to that, Michael.
I know your feelings on R2, so I thought you would like that one.
Yeah, always that.
Yep. Yeah, but the maneuverability we've talked about a lot. There is, you only have to go the full distance on your compulsory move. The new change is, it's not new now, but to go either first or last with your compulsory is incredibly helpful. Gives you a lot of flexibility, and then you can do small moves if you need to, or not if you don't. Definitely a big target. It can get shot. Those huge dice pools are one of my 2 biggest fears. I know Pally was throwing a lot of fire support into mine, and I rolled well. I rolled above average, definitely, in our game, which helped them stay alive longer than they should, which was probably the difference in that game. The other thing, though, is when I played Anthony, he was a range 4-5 gun line, and somebody that knows how to play a range 4-5 gun line. So he did that intentionally, where he would kite backwards, and I just had to close that gap. And by the time that my bombers were in there, he was able to whittle them down pretty good. But also because he was moving back, my Wookiees weren't able to close the gap. So when I was activation week, then he was able to move up towards the objectives at the end of the game because we were playing a round 6 objectives. Right. So I think that is definitely the counter to this, is if you get somebody that has fire support, long range, and knows how to position, you're kind of in trouble because this list is built on closing that gap. The other thing that Anthony did accidentally is you can't land on emplacements or creature troopers. So he built a wall with his mortars to keep my Wookiees from running in. but because of the way he positioned on it next to a building with a rounded roof that the flutters couldn't land on either, I also had a very hard time flying over anything, and I couldn't land on anything because I was either landing on that building where they wouldn't sit or on the emplacement troopers. So that really messed up a lot of what I was able to do throughout the course of that game. So
Right.
if you find you have those units and that type of terrain to take advantage of, you can really block out a lot of where the flutters can land. And you'll still take some pot shots, but their built-in weapon is not that bad. One shot per turn with a black white, and the Wookiees charging if the flutters can't soften up and the flutters aren't a threat that you don't have to worry about. You can just shoot the Wookiees. So you
Right.
really negated a lot of what I was trying to do.
I just want to go back to, not to cut Michael off. We're going to go to more about this, but I just wanted to draw attention to the title of the segment here. So one of the things that I was thinking about wanting to bring into each and every episode, we talk a lot about new things coming out, products, et cetera, and everyone who has a podcast anywhere will talk about all those things, which is great, and I think that's fine. We will do that as well. The title of this Legion IQ is not to suggest that we have a high IQ. It's not to suggest that what we're telling you is, we have to be the original authors of any of this information. But the title of this, and I want to get some feedback from chat as we have several people in here. We want to bring this segment in each and every week. To talk about something that happened from an experience standpoint. So Michael's talking a lot about Fluttercrafts because he has been playing them. I could speak to a few units that I have some experience running, and many of the other people that are on our cast or bring in our cast also have some things. We brought Brian in to talk about FD cannons. We've had Paul come in and talk about RTs. So I want to get back to potentially, if it's agreeable and it's valued to the listener, I want to get into this Legion IQ segment each and every week where we break down units, how we're running them, the pros and cons of them, and then how we're functionally integrating them into the game. And so if you guys are good for that sort of segment, I'll listen to your feedback. That is something that we'd like to do a bunch more of. So again, not to suggest that we have any intelligence that other people don't, but this is going to be based on, it's basically the 100% reverse of hot takes. This is going to be experience-based information, and it's going to be based on how we have used units with successes, hopefully. So that is what we're looking for. So continuing with this, and to round out the conversation, let's talk a little bit about, Michael, some of the units that you're including with this, because Fluttercrafts, as you will likely attest, cannot win a game by themselves or seldom will. I can point to every mission that they don't score in for being one example, but obviously there's several missions that they can. But let's talk a little bit about the complements, and I'm just going to bring these two units up. You have suggested that you're bringing both. Sometimes people can skew one way or the other, but why don't you talk a little bit about how these units function within the lists that you're bringing?
Yeah, so I brought two of the melee Wooks, just the Wookiee warriors. Basically because, like I said, the goal of my list when I looked at this, so I talked a little bit about, I took on Fluttercraft kind of as a challenge to myself. Number one, to have fun, but number two, most people said they were bad. So wanted to see, are they as bad as people say? So when I sat down with them, I looked at what do I want to do with the Fluttercraft? And as I mentioned earlier, it's not to play at range. They're going to be in your lines. And one other thing you mentioned is I talked about how to get in, how do I extract? I don't. Once I'm there, they're there. They're just going to fly around in circles over you and land on everything they can and cause mayhem. Also realizing
one-way ticket to the front, basically, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yep, exactly. Go there, stay there, and either you survive or I survive, but both isn't an option.
Right.
But part of that mayhem then was, if it's just the Fluttercraft in the front, they're the obvious target. They're what's going to get shot down, and then I'm not going to have pressure the rest of the game, whether that's round 2 or 3. They may have caused a little mayhem, but it's short-lived, and now you can get into your game plan after you've gotten rid of that. So I needed other threats in there, and preferably other threats that mayhem was going to be advantageous for. In this case, that's why I brought two of the melee Wookiees and the Wookie Chieftain. Those three are also running to the front. It takes them a little longer to get there, but now you have a choice that you have to make as my opponent. Do you care about the Wookiees, which everybody knows are good and rightfully fears, or do you care about the Fluttercraft, which if you leave those around for 6 rounds, we talked about they're making you roll 5 saves each every round on average. They're adding 3 suppression at least, unless I can land on multiples every round on average. So if you leave them for 6 rounds, you said they wouldn't win the game. They can almost wipe out a board, as I've had happen in a couple of games, or at least seriously whittle you down if you are unable to kill them or leave them alone. So now it's do you care about the 3 Fluttercraft or the 3 Wookiee units that are charging you? I did throw in one of the shooty Wooks, just because that sharpshooter, the Pierce on the bowcaster, all the dice that come with it, especially with the targeting scopes, if I get an aim on them, that's kind of my. It's not going to solve armor. It's not going to solve that one unit that has to go. But sometimes you get that one unit that has 1 or 2 HP left, and you just need to get it off the board. That was kind of my answer to that. And also, they get to shoot while everything else is running in. So it just kind of that little added pressure, that scenario. It's not a ticket for everything, but it's there if I need it. And also at the end of the game, when I'm trying to tar pit or get to objectives, they still have 12 HP that you have to chew through. So it's there. Its body is a lot of wounds, and then the 3 clones because have to.
Yeah, fair. No, that's fair.
So, but they typically do my back cap work and additional support a little bit if needed on the far lines.
You've mentioned specifically that you're running the Wookie Chieftain, and so here they are.
Yep.
They're Anthony and his variant, and maybe several other people are also running Chewbacca. So without sort of downplaying the reasons why you take the Chieftain, can you think of some world or reasons why Chewbacca might also be a good choice in there, and maybe some of the reasons why you have chose to go the Wookie Chieftain versus Chewbacca?
So if we just look at their keywords, so Chewie has Enrage, which gives him charge then, but he loses the suppression cover. The Chieftain has charge on board. Chewie has Guardian 2, where if you're running another commander, that's great because it only applies to commander in this case, but I'm not running another commander, it would be one or the other, so that keyword would not be useful to me. The Reliable 2 to Surge, they both Surge hit offensively, and the Chieftain already surges defense, so he doesn't need the Surge tokens at all, and they both have scale. So kind of as I look down, those are kind of my main thoughts there. Chewie does have a couple more health, but again, doesn't surge all the way. The Reliable 2 helps, so depending on how much he's getting shot at, he may or may not have more effective health. And their weapons aren't dissimilar, I guess. And getting that Agile 1, I move twice a lot, as I said, when I'm running in on the Chieftain. So picking up those 2 dodges as I'm running in is nice to have as well.
Yeah, I think both offer
Yep.
quite a bit. Again, I think this is a playstyle
Yep.
choice. You're saving 10 points with
Absolutely.
Chewie, so if the 10 points is more valuable to the other upgrades that you might want to take, that there could be a reason there. I think losing the Guardian if you're not taking another, not using a keyword is always you're found wanting, I guess, if you're not using that keyword. But I think Chewie has some potential and offers the list something. I think I'm probably in your camp where the Chieftain just fits to be one more melee threat. Not that Chewie won't be, but I almost feel like Chewie becomes something that you're trying to preserve a little bit for that range poke. But the Chieftain's nothing to laugh at range either. So the whole army having scale is fantastic, and for maybe something that not a lot of people are seeing, but because your Fluttercrafts are going to be taking up real estate, and yes, you can move through repulsor vehicles, but if there's a world where your repulsor vehicles end up being stacked, and that's in a similar direction that you want to move, sometimes a movement tool is not going to get you over the 2 stack repulsors, but jumping and going over a building will, and in fact, bringing multiple threats, coming in both from the ground and height and also over buildings is just one more sort of intangible that somebody's going to have to sort of figure out. And obviously they're not in your head, so they don't know the route you're exactly going to take, but you're not losing scale with either one of these commanders, but just pointing out that scale is fundamentally a super strong keyword, and it's exceptionally strong in this list. So let's talk a little bit about before we finish off the segment. Let's talk a little bit about the command cards and what you're getting out of this. And if you're not getting a lot out of these particular ones, that's fine to say that too, Michael. But I thought I'd just draw attention to the 3 since you are taking these in your list. So this one right here. What do you think about it?
So I do like this card. The one thing I don't like about this card is that I can't issue the order to the chieftain. I know the first or second game I played, you corrected me. I tried to issue to the chieftain, and you came into the room and corrected me, rightfully so. Um, but there have been a number of times, even since then, when I really want that order to go to the chieftain. I really want it to go now. I really want those tokens on him. The other thing, though, that it's right on the card, you can't give it to a support unit, and it has to be issued by a commander Wookiee trooper, which means you can give it to your Fluttercraft and get all those tokens on it, which I did in one game to get the dodge and the aim, because there's nothing that says you can't aim a bomb or a grenade, even though it's overrun. It seems weird, but you can do it. However that works. So
Right.
getting that aim on there when you need to make sure you take a unit out or get that extra damage through is helpful. And because they're always getting shot at, the dodge is nothing to laugh at either. Or if you just need the unit to go first in the round.
Yeah, and I think the pip priority, not only is it going first, but you're likely going to, or not only is it getting an issue, but yeah, you are likely going to go first with it. So if it is maybe on its last leg, for example, the dodge token is just one more preservation point for it. So maybe it does live out the turn, but if you relegated it to die that turn, then getting one more overrun, one more shot, one more displace, all those things. Or I guess if you just have to GTFO with it as well, and just like triple move it to get it to, if it's activation preservation, or if it's running for an end zone on a breakthrough or something like that, try to bury it in a corner. There's potential there for it as well. I'm just spitballing as to ways that I think you could utilize this card. So nothing.
No, I think it's situational, but it has a huge upside.
Yep.
So, and I kind of glossed over giving it to the Wookiees, but obviously getting one of your special forces to go first, get that charge in, pick up the aim and dodge, so they're buried with a dodge token is awesome.
Well, I mean, burying into a unit that was potentially going to be a fire support platform that could hurt a Fluttercraft is also, something that's of value there. So not only burying it, but with charge, they're probably going to gut it substantially. So let's talk a little bit about the 2-pip. I won't worry about the pronunciation, but let's talk about this one. Is this is this helpful for you?
I find I think I'm using this one in the wrong situations a lot, and I know that happens a lot with lists. You have 6 command cards, and you kind of have I don't have the exact command card I need, and so I'll use this right now, and I will often use this to give orders to my 2 melee Wookiees, which getting the Agile 1 on is awesome, but because of the point of the game when I'm using it, I often end up using them last in the round. If they have a hiding place, they'll go towards the end of the round, and so then I'm not getting the advantage of that Agile necessarily as much as I would like to.
Right.
I think that's me in situation and learning where to use this a little bit better. Having that option, though, is great. The other thing is I'm often fishing for the Fluttercraft early from the stack, just because I want them to go before they get blown off the board.
Right.
Which also has been my problem is I'm pretty sure rounds 2, 3, and 4 in every game I've played, I've pulled my 3 core units in the first 4 order tokens I've drawn. Each of those rounds, almost every game. So, I'm not sure about the shuffling on TTS, but it is what it is. So.
I think same premise could apply, though. If you did go early with a special forces unit because you were worried about the shot, if you're able to reach those units that you were concerned with doing the shooting, I think you could potentially achieve 2 results in one, right? Mitigate the shot at the flutter, and then potentially gut or at least limit the potential for that unit to fire in the future. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, Donnie. It's good art. So, all right, last part of this, and then we're going to get into our roundtable as the show has been going swimmingly well here. Let's talk about this one. It's got another interesting pronunciation. It's an extremely angry roar, apparently. So, it's a cool artwork. I'm not exactly sure where those guys are swinging from, but
Fluttercraft.
Well, yeah, that could be. So up above, what are those supposed to be? Like, what's flying in there?
I'm not sure. I would assume they're, I don't know,
some sort of droid thing, or I'm not sure what those are. I can't remember them from the movie. But anyway, regardless of that, 3 troopers, Republic only. Each Wookiee trooper unit that is issued an order by a commander gains demoralize 1. I know Anthony. I was hoping he was going to be on here. He could speak specifically. This card apparently bailed him out of his game. Wookiee planes. Okay, that's cool, but we don't have those. So Kashyyyk, Battle Force. We need it because we don't have that unit, and that would be great.
There's our heavy unit.
Oh, and then we have droid vultures. So okay, we have some discrepancies whether they're droid or Wookiee. But regardless of that, this I think here potentially could help you with your bag control a little bit.
Yeah.
I would speculate, Michael. So.
Yep. Yeah, this usually goes to my 3 special forces to get it out. I like to save this one for generally middle to late game. Number one, because you want to close that distance so you can actually use Demoralize. The other thing is, if your Fluttercraft have been in there dropping bombs and everybody's suppressed already, this can be the, hey, now you're going to panic, or you really have to worry about panicking, or you're not going to roll everything off, so you're definitely suppressed. At least you're getting less actions. The other place I've looked at using this is if your opponent has table-wide suppression, and the one that comes to mind is Annihilation Looms. And they're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, but I have a way to get rid of some of that suppression, so I'm going to have the advantage here on turn 5 or 6. Yep. And you lay this down, and all of a sudden you stack an extra suppression that they weren't ready for on some of their units. Yep. Even their clearing now might not be enough to keep units from panicking or being suppressed that they were planning on getting to middle positions or wherever else. So.
War weary, hostile environment
yep.
Where somebody's like, sitting at that, I'm 2, but I'm courage 3. I'm not going to lose any actions. Yep. I'm fine. I'm 3. I'm not going to panic because I'm courage 2. And then suddenly it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm going to go here, and then you're going to be at 4, starting the activation, and potentially you don't shake that off. And
or command cards that issue standbys on them. This is great for, because you go and you start clearing those standbys as soon as you activate.
I am so glad you said that, Michael. Because exactly what you're saying is we've heard about this the all offering 7 standby rebel card in the battle forces. I just want to point out that again, this unit, this army particularly, but let's just say AA5, 2, and 3 swoop bikes. Each of those activations that goes and has demoralize 1 is also going to potentially be able to, as a unit activates, it strips a standby by issuing a suppression. It's then also going to be able to shoot another suppression off and potentially can compulsory onto another unit, displacing it. Now, it doesn't displace emplacement troopers. I understand that fully. What I'm saying is that if standbys are issued onto other units, you can effectively get rid of. Demoralize is a fantastic keyword, and nobody probably theorized it being a really great standby stripper, but it in fact is now. So I think that's going to be something that's going to need to work into all the calculus of these standby shenanigans. That demoralizes a fantastic keyword for stripping that. Now it is range 1 to 2, I believe, so there's that, but having a big base of the Fluttercraft gives you a little bit extra on that demoralize. On the swoop bikes being a 2 stand, and it's not unit leader, it's of the unit, so the coherence bubble on the swoop bike unit will also give you an increased bubble on the demoralized as well. I know we're talking about flutters, but the premise exists. It's a fantastic keyword not to be overlooked. So yeah.
So I think if we're done with this, there's one more thing that you asked about and we didn't touch on, was how to move 3 flutters around the board.
Yeah, let's jump back. We'll jump back to our heads here, and then we are going to get ready for the call-in show after this. So just be prepared, folks, if you're calling in. So what I tend to do is I tend to line up all 3 next to each other, kind of angled the way I'm going to go, and then I will usually move the one that is the lead craft. Not always, but usually move the one that's the lead craft first, because then the next 2 will come in behind and essentially end up with the same formation you had. I'll do that a lot on turn 1, just because then I can very easily predict where all 3 are going to end up. When I get to round 2, then I'll kind of react to where my opponent has moved and kind of, like I said, go for targets of opportunity, either high priority targets or easy activation kills to get off the board to start bringing that number down in my favor. One thing, and I'm sorry to pick on Pally here, and I did it our first game I played him accidentally, is he had a unit on a bridge that I was able to displace on the compulsory, the 3rd move of the activation. And because of where it was on the bridge and how big the base is and the range that it has to go, it forced that unit further out onto the bridge. And because I went with the one that was in front and the next one came out, it landed on the bridge and forced the unit further out on the bridge. And then my 3rd one came out and landed the compulsory right behind that one on top of it. So not only did I get, even though they were
a lot of times you only get one overrun attack the first round because you have to close that distance. I managed to get 3 overrun attacks on the same unit, ended up with 6 suppression, and was then in range of the rest of my army to shoot, charge, whatever else I wanted to do at the beginning of the second round. So sometimes you can actually force your opponent's units into really awkward situations.
Sort of like squeeze
based on where you can land on them with compulsory. Yep,
squeeze
exactly.
the toothpaste, right? So
Exactly.
roll them up. I had just done this against Anthony in our game. In fact, I used my AAT to actually squeeze up, and I was a little worried about charge range, so I actually moved my AAT over my own unit and positioned it in such a way that he actually had to squeeze my unit backwards. But I'd already gone, so I just used it to my advantage. But yes, you can definitely move and manipulate units around the table. Keep in mind you cannot displace a unit in melee, so you can't try that trick there. But yeah, be cognizant of how big your base is and where those units can move. With a 6-inch base, it's a little easier to sort of estimate how far you can push. But in this case here, you used a terrain feature where he had to remain on the bridge, and so there wasn't any other place to go but squeezing along the bridge. I happened to be watching that game, so I was well aware of what you're talking about. But yeah, no, that's
and then so then after you get in that position, then you start to remember a lot of those moves I talked about early in the game, where you can basically go forward and come straight back, and you haven't thrown anything off. You don't have to worry about where your next one's going to go, because it can go forward and straight back, and the third one can go forward and back, or running those circles that I talked about to get back to where you started from. So once you start to learn a few of those maneuvers, and it does take a little bit of practice to figure them out, but once you learn a few of those maneuvers, it's surprisingly easy to move 3 of them around with a large base, more so than I expected it to be.
Right. And you understood my analogy around the X-wing flying, Michael, from the the people flying the old 8 TIE fighter swarm, and you really had to fly in unison and know where you could cut your corners and what could do what, and and I think swoop bikes, staps, all those units are fairly I think complementary in the information that we're providing. Not to be overlooked, though, but ground vehicles, RTs, even creature troopers, for that matter, droidicas, all those things come to mind. They're also equally important to understand where they physically are on the table, because those ones you can't move through. So repulsors have a little bit of leniency in allowing you to move through if you have the movement, of course. But vehicles that just straight block you, you need to account for that. You either need to leave gaps wide enough, or you need to have routes to go around, or have keywords like scale, or perhaps unhindered if you need to take a sort of a less expeditious route to get around them. But all those things, I think, come from I think you learn them by repetitiously using them on the table. Every game is going to present a little bit of differences, but if you learn and become comfortable with moving those bases around, I think the larger the base, the more difficult it is. Even on the deployment, I'm not sure, we maybe briefly could touch on that, Michael. In terms of just accounting for them in your deployment zone and not taking up the prime real estate that your Wookiees want to have, but at the same time, maybe putting your Fluttercrafts in the most advantageous position to get rolling early.
Yep. So I cheat. I know.
Okay.
You talked a lot about deployment and
cheating. Well, yep. Highly recommended.
Cheat mentally, because you talk a lot about keeping your key units to the end to see where they're going to go. I always leave my Fluttercraft to last. That way I don't block my other units, especially because I know, like I said, I think so far I've always, but maybe not one game, but usually going last with the Fluttercrafts in round 1, so I don't want my Wookiees behind Fluttercrafts to where they can't move out, and I block myself in, and my Wookiees that want to close now can't get there. So I usually end up putting all my trooper units on the board first, and then trying to leave room where I want my Fluttercraft, but because they can move fast, I'll adjust them if I screwed something up.
Right, and I think that's a good point, right? Using your units that are, and that's why I know we've, again, going back to some swoop bike conversation, and I'm only paralleling with it because I think we're hearing a lot of the similar Fluttercraft / swoop bikes. They're not good, they won't be good, they can't do this, they can't do that, so there's a lot of conversation around that, but the point being that you can correct for a lot of that with the Fluttercraft based on speed. So there's that. So Alderaan is full of bullies quoting others. Yeah, I mean, Stan is in the shark pool this time, so I've unfortunately I only get to play Stan once this round, but I said I look forward to playing him in the future. So, but he still has Michael to look forward to. So, all right, well,
and last thing on movement is
sure.
because they are speeder 2, they can go over height 2, and most terrain is not more than height 2, so they can go over almost everything.
Yep. Yeah, Alderaan is rather gone this time of year. I think somebody suggested that Alderaan was actually destroyed by bullies, I think is what I saw some sort of reference. So there's that. But okay, well let's jump over here. I got to give the rules of engagement as I don't want to have anyone monopolize other folks' time. So I will be maybe a very bullyish on the kickouts tonight if I have people calling in. So we have room for 2 on the screen, and we have room for 3 in the queue. So if I bring a third person in, I will boot one person out to cycle them through. There are rules. Somebody earlier wanted me to point out the fact that this is a thumbs up, thumbs down. So you need to take a position that is one of those two, but it's and here's the topics of conversation in no particular order. So something that we need more of in Legion, which could be a plus, or you could flip that around and say something we need less of. That's fine. Early performance based on actual performance indicators would be nice on any unit, either something you've used for the first time or something that is new. New models, your impressions of them, or things that you're building that are new to you, or new models that are coming out, and also your excitement level based on anything. Doesn't matter. It can be anything related to the game, Battleforces, Mini Stravaganza, the League, etc., etc. All those are eligible. So I will throw the interview up in here. There we go. Interview key and go. Let's see who our callers are tonight. And it is 1 hour 30. We will take, Michael, you got 20 minutes in you?
I got 20 minutes in me.
Okay, we will do 20 minutes. Therefore, we will be kicking people out so we can cycle through. So, link is there. You got to call in.
While we're waiting, Canadian Bear says we need more core upgrade boxes. Agree.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. That's a valid point. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're only wrong if Ryan tells you you're wrong. So we won't tell people that they're wrong. So Dan's calling in all the way from Australia. Let's see how the connection is in Australia here. So remove from green room. Let's get Dan in here. Dan is coming in. There's Dan.
Hey guys.
Hey. What do you got for us tonight, Dan?
All right. So I want to bring one thing up when you were talking about the Wookiee 1 pip is from my personal experience using Wookiees. I've run a few Wookiee lists. I like running Seize the Initiative as one of the training slots on any HQ I have, because that way they get the benefit of that 1 pip because they're issuing an order to themselves and they are a Wookiee commander model, so they get all the benefits, which can make a big difference actually in the recent League game I played. That actually sort of kept Chewie alive for a whole extra turn, and let it so he didn't die at all, actually. So I was able to run him out because he had all those tokens on him that helped him stay alive. So I really like that. I think Seize is an underrated upgrade card on commanders sometimes, because everyone wants, especially Wookiees, everyone wants to go tenacity, offensive push, or something like that, rather than, I mean, and you might say it's a bit much, 5 points to get the benefits of a single command card during the game, but you can also use it for something like whatever's more, having 5 sources of demoralize with 3 pip, or running the 2 pip and giving your commanders an extra agile can also be a huge buff, I find. So I really like running Seize. I usually run Seize and O push because I generally find the extra red dice on the Wookie Chieftain it's nice, but it's exactly the same as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like it's not really necessary. It's nice, but it's not. Oh my god, I have to have it. It's on Chewie. It's a bit harder. I generally run tenacity on Chewie just because 5 red dice is much better than 4 red dice.
20% better.
But anyway, yeah, 20% better, exactly. Whereas on a Wookie Chieftain, it's only 12% better. So or 14% better if we want to get down to the maths. But yeah. Anyway, that was that. I just wanted to bring up that with the Wookiees, and I've run a lot of Wookiee lists over the years, mainly melee Wookiees as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was my 2 cents. In terms of what we need more of, we definitely need more. Just Legion in general. There's my thumbs up.
Nice, he knows the rules.
But I would really like another core unit for the Clone Wars factions. I think they need a third core unit just to make variable lists. I would love to see, like for clones, I would love to see another clone trooper unit, which is ridiculous. I know, more clones in the clone army. Oh my god. But I'd like to see like reconnaissance clones or something like that. So white save clones coming in. And so we've got the option of a cheaper core unit that's maybe not nearly as good as the regular clones, but has that ability. For droids, I'd love to see Geonosians, but I don't know if we'll get that. There's still quite a few droid models that they could throw in as core units, like the weird winged droids that they have in Clone Wars Season 8. They've got these winged droids that fly and shit, so that would be pretty cool. They're like B1s, but with shorter range, more rapid fire guns, and they can fly. So like a unit with jump, or so, like a B1 unit with jump and the shorter range gun or something like that, but maybe rolls more dice or whatever. I just want to see more, and especially I'd also love to see some upgrade packs come for the original faction core units that haven't had a lot of love. Veterans, shore troopers. I'd love their heavies are really, really good. Like their heavies are amazing. Some of the best heavies in the game. They're very efficient guns, but I would love to see them get some more options. Same as like snow troopers and fleet troopers. I'd like eventually to get basically every core unit to have 4 heavy weapon options, and a couple of different personnel options as well. Not just here's your captain, here's your here's your comms trooper, here's your medic, and here's your astromech, your repair droid, but also like you got specialists and things like that, and the anti-suppression specialists from in the OG core units as well. I'd love to see that get across all of the core units, just to really flesh out some more options.
Excellent. Those are all super good suggestions. Okay, Dan, are you okay if I cycle you? I got Andrew. I got another one after that, but I appreciate all of that. Thanks for calling in on all that. And I'm sorry, just before you go, Pally, was it you and I, or was it you and Dan? We were talking about the Naboo security force would be a great fleet equivalent that could go in a faction. Was that you and I having that conversation? You are muted, I think. At least, or we can't hear.
It wasn't me. I can say that it wasn't me, so it must have been Pally.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, Dan.
By the process of elimination.
Yeah, no, fair. I thought we were talking about that. So, okay, well, I'll see you out, Dan, but thanks for the call in, and I'll get Andrew in here, and then Ain't No Poser's wife is trying to call in after that, so I will cycle them through. Appreciate that, Dan. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, hold on. All right, Pally, you're up. Yep, you go. Go ahead, and I'll get Andrew in, and then I'll answer the call from Ryan's wife. Go ahead.
I've had the conversation about Naboo security forces being fleet equivalents with a lot of people. I don't know if it's you specifically, and I think they would be a good option in that regard. I don't know if I want that personally. I think there's clone trooper options you could do something similar with that with. I'm a sucker for the clone trooper keyword, but it's an option. I think if you do that, that's probably along the lines of almost a Gungan style or Gungan-esque battle force, where you release like a wave of the Naboo security guard, the Gungans, that Gungan creature trooper things they have, and like you just do a pack of a whole bunch of Naboo-esque units.
Right, a battle force per se.
A battle force per se. There's a world here where. And I really think this probably has to do with a lot of Disney licensing, but there's a world where you can do a battle force that's very specifically themed with Gungans and Naboo Guard, and simultaneously also allow them in standard guardless building using Merc rules.
Yeah, fair, agreed.
So, and like Michael was saying earlier, I love Battle Forces. I love the things they're doing, and I think there's a massive amount of design space. But I'm worried that the excitement for these new enhanced things that they might be able to do would come at the cost of just standard generic list building.
Fair. I think you need to I think maybe they could exist parallel, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
And you could have events that would specifically be like open, let's call them open, and then you could have other ones that would be maybe more restricted, and your restrictions would be based on the battle forces allowed in there, or open and battle forces if you wanted to go it that wide.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of that fear on my end stems from everything that they've told us about Wookiees so far, or not Wookiees, I'm sorry, Ewoks so far, has basically been they're coming, but in an Ewok specific battle force, and they're supposedly not going to be allowed in general list building. And I'm like, you're going to take one of the most iconic Australian drop bears in existence and potentially not put them in regular rebel armies.
Right.
What?
It could
so
happen.
And something tells me that's not so much pure AMG as it is maybe licensing issues, because McCannons gotta have McCannon be accurate.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. All right. Well, we appreciate that as always, Pally. We'll get Andrew in here, and I love how Ryan has used his wife's account to call in. So please feel free to stay in chat and harass everything that he's about to say. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, we will jump over to Andrew. Go ahead, Andrew. What do you got? What do you got for us?
Glad to be on here. Regular, as you see in the chat, regular attender of these podcasts, and I gotta say these call-in segments have just been absolutely hilarious. The Pally and Poser, I mean, I'm dying laughing listening to these late at night. It's a riot listening to these guys go back and forth on the craziest things, breaking rules, thumbs mediums. I mean, it's just hilarious hearing the banter.
Well, you're welcome that we're here to ring them in and agree to allow them this platform weekly. So you are welcome for that. Ryan, you get.
Wait, I thought this was the Pally and Poser segment.
No, I like how you used your wife's account because you knew I was not going to answer your calls. So
I did.
But it's Andrew's time right now. So Andrew speaking.
Sneaky. So yeah, definitely a huge excitement level for where the Legion game is right now. I'm loving the Battle Forces. I'm primarily a Rebels player, so when I saw Rebels Battle Force come out for the last couple of weeks at my local meetup, I've been running. I've had the privilege of running quad tauntauns. It's fun just to march these 4 speed 3 units up the table and just ramming and shooting and dodging and just being a general pain to deal with.
Making no friends.
None. Yeah, love the Battle Force concepts for all of them. When I first saw all the constructions, my heart, even though I don't like Republic faction, my heart genuinely broke for them. Like seeing all the flexibilities for the droids, for the Empire, for the Rebels. And I'm just saying, man, you got to fight this hard to get a decent activation count with this. My heart genuinely broke for them, even though I don't like clones.
Yeah, my heart less so, but we'll try to take your heart breaking and spread it out so those clone flayers don't feel so bad. So.
So yeah, definitely thumbs up for Battle Forces.
Okay. See that, Ryan? Did you see how he followed the rules there? He's like using the actual symbols. Thanks. Appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you.
We all can't follow the rules.
Well, someone has to set the example for others.
Yes.
So something we need more. Although I think this may happen after March of next year when the 3-year Worlds Championship happens, is a more going back to a more organized play cycle. Where it builds like Fantasy Flight did with X-Wing, where they had the the local levels, building up to regionals, building up to national, eventually to worlds. I'd like to see that come back around again.
No, that's a good
especially
point. I like that.
Yeah, especially now that I've opportunities to play more often now and looking to get involved in more tournaments. It'd be nice to have a local level to get to kind of build up into the regionals and et cetera, et cetera.
No, I like all those points, Andrew. I appreciate that. So awesome. Anything else for us? And thanks for the call in tonight. I appreciate that, and the weekly listens. We also appreciate that. So
yeah, thanks to you guys for all your stuff, for all your work.
Any advice to Ryan here before we give him a soapbox to stand on for a couple minutes here?
Follow the rules. Listen to your host. Follow the rules.
Appreciate that. All right, Andrew. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, cheers. All right, Ryan.
So
what
I'm
do you
going to
got
break
for
the
us?
rules, and no, I'm cutting it in front of Ryan. I'm going to break
good.
in. So I'm going to jump in on one thing that Andrew said though about more organized play. I will say the one benefit I think of not having organized play is we've seen a much larger variety in lists. When we had organized play, it was play this list or this list was what you heard from everybody. That's the only thing you can play if you want to win worlds. And right now, people aren't concerned about winning worlds, so they want to see what they can take to be competitive. And we've had much more variety than we've ever had in the game. And I think people finding out that units that weren't as good as they thought are better than they thought. So I understand the drive for competitive play. I stand behind it. I support it. But I think it's been a fun time not to have it as well.
All right, Ryan, what do you got for us?
Just to piggy off of Andrew and Michael, selfish plug here. We got a tournament on August 20th in Omaha. So if you are looking to get into more competitive play,
of things to talk about.
But yeah, no, I agree. We need more competitive play. I've missed it. I've missed smashing new players. I'm not gonna deny it. I enjoy it. But I think we also need better kits. For those of you who have been unable to get any of the new organized play kits, they're kind of lackluster, I feel, to where they don't support enough players. Being a community head that organizes events, I was extremely pissed off with that first skirmish kit, only because it supported 8 players, but I had to have players run specific factions. Was not a huge fan of that. So I wish we'd get more of that, along with a little more variability with some operatives. Need a little more bounty hunters. Still looking for my boy Dengar.
Okay.
Early performance. Jeez, always E-webs. E-webs are great. Always. Still waiting on that phone call when you're going to call me about that E-web IQ.
Okay, we'll get you on here talking about eWeb IQ, and I'll speak to the cons of them. So just the unit itself in general. It's my general.
I mean, that's a short list of nothing. There are no cons. They're great. As Michael mentioned, he hates emplacement troopers.
Ryan wants more competitive play, but can't even finish the competitive events he signs up for.
I would like to make a comment to Mr. Michael Smith that I actually am 1-0 against that gentleman in competitive play settings. So,
by the way, Ryan, when you're done talking, if your wife is down with it, I would love to ask her 1 or 2 questions about your round table appearances as of late. So continue.
Yeah, she's right. She's right next to me. She's actually painting some AOS models. But this isn't an AOS podcast, so...
No, it definitely does not.
New models.
We all have shirts on. Go ahead.
New models. I mean... is my opinion on them. Like,
okay, just not loving them.
I'm glad we get Din Djarin. I'm glad he's playing for the Empire. Always need another Mando boy. Yep. I'm not a fan of those IG models just because there's... No? They're the same pose.
I'm just a fan of we got one. I'm okay we get 2, but I like the model itself.
Like, yeah, that's cool. I just they look exactly the same. There's a few minor touches.
Hobby.
Like I get maybe I'm a guy who's gonna take it out of the box, put it together, paint it. And
how dare they introduce?
Over the head with it.
How dare they introduce posability and options to hobby in a hobby game?
Yeah, that's how we got silhouettes, and I'm not going down that road. And then Ewoks just drive me up a wall because I still get PTSD from seeing that. Not over the Battle of Endor yet.
Okay.
But I have seen they've moved on from tactical rocks to tactical trees now.
Okay.
So
Lost some friends on Endor, did you? Or like...
It's still sensitive, Shawn. Still very sensitive.
Fair. We won't touch that one. Gotcha. So that's a thumbs down for you, Endor battle, then.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Huge. I mean, the fact that...
There, so.
And excitement level. Like, I'm feeling good. During the chat, I've built 3 new lists that I got to try out here.
Any with Fluttercrafts?
No, because I don't play villains.
Oh.
I don't play villains. So
okay. Bully level's not 100 yet, so.
No, I just don't play villain factions, and that's a conversation for another day.
That's fair. That's fair.
I keep trying to get everyone in my community to run Fluttercrafts that does play Gar, because as someone who does play competitively, it is nice to get a feel against that, to get a look. So we got a tournament. And,
we got this thing called the League that you can sign up for and play against people weekly.
I know.
Fluttercraft users, they're wild right now. And
I think the problem with Flutters in real life is there's not a lot of people, Shawn and I being exceptions, that have bought 3 Fluttercraft models
and assembled.
Mine are also in the box.
Even
mine are not assembled yet. But, so,
there is one Gar player in my area that got 1 Fluttercraft, put it together, and just almost committed suicide putting it together.
They aren't that bad, I can assure you. I just built them and many other models, and I actually thought the Fluttercraft was more daunting to look at than it was to assemble. The process of assembling it, other than 2 little pipes on it, I think is pretty straightforward. So, I think give them a try.
True, I think so. I mean, I'd rather build a Fluttercraft than 8 units of B1s.
Fair.
Because you can do that now.
Yep. Yeah, you can.
So, yeah, overall, I mean, level excitement. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm already getting ready for Worlds 9 months out. Yeah,
that's fair. So, I'm also gearing up there. Frizzle saying that Michael, you've tempted to potentially purchase that 3rd one. So,
yep, more than happy.
Actually tempted my wife a bit. She's looking at it, going over it while you're talking about it, and she's like,
"Oh, it's a beautiful.
What do these do again?"
Oh,
and she's like, compulsory. No, not my thing. Can't handle that.
Oh yeah, I should have brought the models down. They're pretty good. All right, we got a late calling in here, but I do encourage your wife to take the helm there, because I greatly I would love to.
Yeah, no, she just stepped out.
All right,
so
I'm going to put Pally back in here for a second, and then we'll.
This will be good.
Yeah, I'm sure he has very little to say in rebut to anything that you've said. So. All right,
I actually missed the last couple minutes because I had to go to put a kid to bed.
Okay.
But whatever it was Ryan said, I'm sure is incorrect. He doesn't know how to read cards, so.
Yeah.
No, they're not written correctly.
I mean, that is the point. I mean, by the way, it's not. I forgot to mention to Michael too. They're actually not called battle forces. They're called starter kits or starter packs.
Yes, they're
like
starter boxes.
But even though they say Battle Forces on it, it's just written incorrectly. Ryan has the actual product name, so yeah.
I do.
All right, go ahead, Pally, as we wrap this up here. Go.
Honestly, short and sweet. I don't know what Ryan said, but give me more Battle Forces. Not Kashyyyk. We don't need Kashyyyk Wave yet.
We already have that.
We have it. We've got all the units.
And that's exactly why we don't need it. We don't need a Kashyyyk Battle Force.
Just give us a PDF, though.
I don't need a box. I just want a PDF. Yeah.
Just give us.
You want a PDF of what? You need more command cards?
Okay.
No. The problem is now, yes, I can play it at home. I've got everything I need to play it at home. But if I want to go to a tournament and play it, it's not tournament legal. It's not organized.
How many Wookiees do you want to run?
All of the Wookiees.
All of them.
Okay.
All of. Okay.
Here's my counter argument for that.
But the other thing is, I don't want the clones in there. If I could sub them out for 2 more Wookiee units, I'd be happy.
But I mean, that doesn't really make it a Kashyyyk battle force.
Yeah, it does. It's a different org chart with the command cards that are already out.
Maybe it wants 4 photographs.
Counterpoint. Instead of taking the clones out, just paint them up as a 41st and take Yoda.
So you want a Kashyyyk?
He's not wrong.
You want a Kashyyyk
He's
Battle
not
Force,
wrong.
but you just want to call it a clone unit. Is what you're basically saying.
I mean, basically the 41st were on Kashyyyk during the Battle of Kashyyyk with Yoda and the Wookiees.
So if I was going to build a Kashyyyk,
you want? I know what he
if I
wants.
was gonna
Michael
build a Kashyyyk
wants an
Battle Force-
all-Wookiee army.
Yeah.
That's
Michael
part of
does.
it, but
So,
I want to be able to run Chieftain, Chewie, and 6 Wookiee Special Forces. I want to be able to
Why?
run. What do you mean why?
okay,
Why?
hold on. Counterpoint, if I may.
Sorry, Pallet. At this point, who are you countering?
Michael.
Himself.
Okay, gotcha.
Other way.
Michael.
Yep.
It's mirrored. I don't want you to be able to run 6 Wookiee Special Forces because that's
I know you
ridiculous. Here's what I do want. We already have Wookiee models. We already have print and play cards. Somehow this feels more natural to me. Australians, you're welcome.
You live in the upside down. Continue.
I don't think you need 6 Wookiee Special Forces because
But
that's
need and want are
ridiculous.
different. Need and want are different.
But fair, need and want are different. What I would like to see is just do a print and play Wookiee unit that uses the Special Force cards. You can make a Wookiee core unit with existing models. Like, how many different models of Wookiee can you actually come up with that's going to differentiate them enough anyways?
We do it with stormtroopers.
So again, let me correct what I want, and before everybody tells me it's not what I want, because it is what I want.
Oh no, I'm not
No,
saying
you
it's
don't
not
know what
want.
you want, Michael.
Listen, Michael, nobody makes
That's
me
what I'm
bleed
getting
my
at.
own blood, all right?
You can absolutely want that, and I don't want you to have that.
I get it. I want the ability to have 1 to 3 commanders between the Chieftain, Chewie, and Yoda. No operatives in the list. I want the ability to have up to 0 to 3 core units, clone troopers, because you're right, there were clone troopers on there. We can say phase 1, phase 2, whatever, I don't care. I want the ability to have 3 to 6 special forces and 0 to 4 support units. And then I can play around in there as I see fit. So I can run 4 Fluttercrafts. I can run like I said, 2 commanders, 6 special forces. And I realize, I'm not asking for anything new. I'm just saying put out a PDF of it.
Okay.
That
Okay, tell you
allows
what.
him to then take that.
AMG,
as a forced
hire this man.
organization.
I'll tell you what.
That,
It's a wizard
I'm
already.
not unique there. This was on the table a long time ago,
Right.
as soon as the Wookiee stuff was announced.
I'll tell you,
Again, hire this man.
give me a minimum of 1 Fluttercraft because they're just cool, and you got to have a little restriction in there.
Yeah, no, I think
And-
zeros on everything won't be. I think you have to take like 2 to 4 special forces. Like you're gonna have to put
Yeah.
some. You can't put net zeros on any on.
And
Yeah, no, like I said, 3 to 6 special forces.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
and again, everything that you've said there, I'm totally cool with. Rock on. But yeah, minimum of at least 1 support Fluttercraft just because they're cool and they're iconic and they were there. And give us a print and play Wookiee core unit. Like, just do it.
I don't even need that. I don't need new units. I just want
Well,
the
no.
list so that I can take it somewhere. And you're right.
I'm not
AMG
saying
will
you
finagle the
need
list
it.
to a point where I'm unhappy about something in it. But go ahead. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. But the other half of my argument for not wanting a Kashyyyk Battle Force yet, emphasis on yet, I think that it would be cool and we should, yes, make it happen. But there are already functioning Wookiee-centric lists. You've played one of the several variants, and it sucks. You have to take clone units in there. I got you, but somebody has to do objective actions. I'm all on board for 212. Rock to phase 1s, possibly phase 2s, but do things that bring Obi-Wan back to the light. Because right now, where I'm at, yes, a PDF is simple, but they still have to do all the licensing crap and the back and forth and the talkie-talkie. So just give us a 212 PDF that makes Obi-Wan better, right?
But we have a new guest before we go on all night.
Good. Okay, so we'll end here. Welcome, Ryan's better half, significantly better half, more intelligent, and likely can follow the rules. So
Understands how words work.
Exactly. The people want to know. So does Ryan really truthfully look forward to coming on? Because he's so named this segment the Ryan and Pally segment at this point. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how actually excited is he to come on here and get railed? Because he knows he's gonna get railed when he comes on here.
20.
Okay, see, fair enough. Because there were some people that were slightly concerned with, like, man, you guys are awful hard on Ryan, and I didn't think we were hard enough. So I made that response back to him. So he mentions that he likes to beat up on newbies, go hard on new people in the hobby. Is that factual, or is he kind of a softie and does actually help people out that are new?
Never. Not even when I started, he was nice.
Fantastic.
He was mean even when I played my first games.
Okay, fair enough. There's that.
Look, hold on. Let me get some context to this.
Okay.
My first tournament that I went to, I had to teach her how things actually worked because Ryan couldn't do it.
Oh, because Ryan taught her incorrectly? That is...
That's because I never played them. I never played the units that I was struggling with against you.
For the purposes of this argument, that's not the point.
Okay, and I think our last point, because you are a much better guest than Ryan. I think this is a great opportunity, Michael, here to with Ryan not able to influence. Ryan indicated that you were
host, Shawn. I'm the other host. Come on.
I can make you disappear. But Michael is here, and I know that he's. Ryan said you were looking at Fluttercrafts. Michael, you have the last bit here. Just say how cool and why somebody needs to try out Fluttercrafts, because the model is awesome, and if you like models, you'll like the Fluttercraft. But Michael can tell you that Fluttercrafts are actually cool and fun to try. And the real reason Ryan's going to steer you away from them is because he is afraid to face them.
I think Shawn just answered it for me. He asked me to tell you, but he just told you why.
Go, Michael. Go.
You just did. You got it covered. They're beautiful and they're fun to play. So yeah.
And Ryan is secretly going to be afraid of them because he does not know how to play against anything that Veer's gun line doesn't match up well against. And Michael can tell you, Fluttercrafts love eating gun lines. So
yeah,
so if you
I
can
just
close
struggle
the gap
with the
there.
compulsory.
You know what? But the compulsory for this particular vehicle, it is to your advantage.
It's the attack.
Yeah.
You move that compulsory, you land on something, that's one suppression, and they displace, and then you drop a bomb on them as part of the same action, which is another suppression and damage. Beautiful.
I think what I'll do for you, I'll message you the next time on Friday Night Fights. We're gonna run triple flutters, so you can tune in for that Friday night fight, so you can get to see kind of how they work, and we'll pretend
when do I need to be there? I'm driving up for that one.
And we'll pretend that we're playing against Ryan. Matter of fact, I think we'll put Veers on the other side just so that he can die turn one and we can drive that nail just
That's
straight
usually
in.
how that works.
Exactly. I mean, Veers, he's speaking of antiquated and needing an update. I mean, does anyone actually run Veers anymore? Hot take, Ryan. Veers is not good.
Actually, question for Michael, though. Why no comms jammers on the bomber?
Alone.
No points.
No points.
Yeah, that's okay. Yep, checks out.
There's 2 points left in the list, so I don't know what you would cut that would make it worth putting the jammers on, because you really neuter whatever you take off at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Answer Ryan there. Yes. Yeah. It's fine, but I've clearly stated it on the internet in front of countless of dozens of people, so it's out there. So speaking of
literally 2.5 dozen.
Speaking of that, I went full 2 hours and I did not. And even though I reminded Michael I have to, even though my wife will never watch this, but it is our anniversary today, and I said I would acknowledge that. So yes, so there's that, and she's not here, so it's just a podcast night for me. So before anybody sends me the crazy emails that I'm rude and alienating my wife, she's not in this province, so I cannot spend any more time with her, and she's 3 hours behind and sleeping. So ahead.
So Shawn, is that one of those things where you asked her if she wanted to go away for your anniversary, and she said yes?
She said yes. Home? I just wasn't invited. Yeah, 100% what happened there. Yeah, she's on a vacation for 2, and it's just her and Zuri. But so it's it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good.
And for the people for the people in chat that are worried about us railing on Ryan so hard, this is basically just giving Jace a break because CPS is starting to crawl down our throats a little bit. So
he's not wrong there. He's not wrong. So yeah, we've bullied Jason to not even showing up tonight. So so there's that. All right, thank you for coming on. Ryan, you can say thank you to your wife for coming on, and
Will do.
Yeah, we appreciated that. So all right,
but,
folks.
With the if those of you afraid of railing on me, just show up to my tournament and you'll get a first-hand experience of it.
Oh.
If you've ever been to a tournament run by Ryan, if he doesn't know the rule, like I have to teach him the rules while I'm playing it.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I had to teach him how Call Me Captain works.
Ryan finished first at the last event, and he was the ringer in the first round, got a bye in the second round, and somehow won on strength of schedule. So I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but yeah, that's
because I'm a master at this game. I got called a doctor yesterday.
Okay, fair enough. Well, everyone can't be right all the time, I guess. So Justice is also wondering where's the tournament. So you can
Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, so if anybody knows how to get there, that's where it's at.
So I expect to see both Michaels there, August 20th.
August 20th. Okay, fair enough. I will not be there, but just complications due to travel. So, yeah, Pally, are you heading to this tournament?
If scheduling allows, I will absolutely be heading to that tournament.
I hope you give us a live tournament update. So in the middle of nowhere is what Frizzle Dizzle's saying. So
wow, hurtful. No, it's not. If you got any questions, feel free to slide into my DMs.
Oh,
if you don't have an airport big enough for a 747, it's the middle of nowhere.
We do have a big airport. We actually have 2 airports if you count the airbase, but
is the non-military airport big enough for a 747?
Yeah, it's an international airport.
Okay, interesting.
In fairness, my hometown
Yeah.
of like 10,000 has an international airport, but it's fine. That title is freely applied to almost anything that has a strip of concrete long enough for an aircraft to land. But anyway, we're not here.
I mean,
to
we
dispute.
can fly directly to Shawn's house, so.
Yeah. If you get to the airport, I envision that there will be some sort of similarity to Castaway, and you just get trapped there, and you have to do renovations until you can find your way back to your country. So
nice. Justice, go ahead. Hit me up in the Discord, and I'll send you the deets.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll better wrap up there. It's a good way. Everyone go watch the movie. Tom Hanks is great in it. So thanks for coming out, Michael. I appreciate having the wizard back and all the folks that called in. Ryan's wife, not Ryan, but Pally, Andrew, Dan from Australia. Ryan, you're gonna get. We'll step you up on the credibility once you rejoin the league. So that's your segue back into coming anywhere near having a segment named after you.
If it wasn't volleyball season, I'd be in.
Wasn't it baseball before that?
Season.
It's volleyball.
Yeah,
it's going to be like cornhole season, followed by like board game Scrabble league. Like how many more excuses do you need not to join the league?
No, seriously, baseball to volleyball, and then after. Shh.
Okay,
don't listen to her.
Sir, you push plastic Star Wars miniatures across the table, and you're going to tell me sports is stopping you from doing this?
I make money from one. The other one I have to spend money on.
Shawn Death wants to know when axe throwing season's going to be coming up. I'll tell you that these guys are going to be relentless until you join the league. So we'll leave it at that.
You know what, Ryan? If you go to the Highland games, let me know.
Yeah, we should just have a segment dedicated to my personal life, where I'll just take questions from the comment section.
We called it Legion IQ, not Legion Drama. So we'll save that. When you come in the league,
Won't that
I'll give you
be
the
with
Legion
E-Webs
IQ.
though?
Yeah, well, I'll give you the Legion IQ segment when you join the league. That will be where it's at. So
I did join the league. I got 3 points right there.
I thought the Legion IQ segment automatically disqualified Ryan from being in it.
Yeah, we'll finagle the title to be like, loose.
Sing is the only
takes,
individual that runs E-Webs and are
Legion
constantly slept on.
Advice. We'll call it. We'll have something in there. So, all right, folks.
All right, chat. This has been great.
It's therapeutic as always. Ryan can go away, lick his wounds. Pally will go make more lists. Michael will go back to learning some sort of potion and hocus pocus stuff that he does, and I will make the 13-step trek up to my other half of my house. So till Friday, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later. Cheers.
Toodles.